Hello, welcome to my channel, Grace Creates, and today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different today. This is a color and chat. So here I have Huggy Wuggy from the very popular game Poppy Playtime, and as I am coloring him, I'm going to be talking about the popular question, should Christians watch horror? Now this is one of those very popular topics, maybe not as much as it used to be, but I thought I'd put my 2 cents in just to give you some, some of my advice into the genre. Horror is obviously a very popular genre. There are all types of horror as well. You can have like horrors that are more like thrillers, so they're not that scary, or you can have the super intense horrors as well. So just as a disclaimer, obviously I'm not God, and at the end of the day it comes down to your choices, and as I will explain, it's up to you whether you want to watch horror, and there is absolutely no judgment, or there shouldn't be any judgment if you choose to watch horror or not. I've been a Christian for nearly 20 years now, and so I have a pretty good relationship with God, and so yeah, this is based on my personal experience. I'll be doing verses in the Bible as well. So yeah, so I'll get started. So I've already started colouring Huggy Wuggy already. So I'm going to be doing an alcohol marker base, and I totally forgot to put this underneath to protect the other picture. So I'll just do that quickly. Anyways, so I'll just be doing an alcohol marker base and putting Prismacolors on top. He is quite furry, so I reckon the colour pencils will add that texture. So obviously, as you can see, I am a little bit of a horror buff. I've dabbled in horror films in the past and currently. I love the game Poppy Playtime. I also, why do I keep shaking the camera? I also really like Little Nightmares 2. Sorry guys, it's my hat that keeps tapping at my phone holder, so please forgive me for that. Anyways, so I've also written some books that are horror based, or thriller. It depends who you ask. It's like where a character gets abducted and medically experimented on or tortured. So some people would consider that borderline or straight up horror. I think my first experience of horror, well, I would say 8-Legged Freaks. When I was younger, I watched that film way back in 2003. It's probably not really considered much of a horror these days. It's more a comedy because the graphics and stuff, it's probably not very scary these days, but I watched 8-Legged Freaks when I was younger and was legitimately traumatized. So yeah, I now have a fear of spiders. I've also watched Doom when I was younger. I'm not sure if that's considered horror either, but it was pretty intense. So 10 years ago, I wanted to get more into the horror genre, so I watched a film that's not very well known called Autopsy. That one was like these kids get into a car accident and end up at this hospital that ends up to be an abandoned hospital, and some people run it and they do these sick experiments, tests on these people. So as you can see, it was my kind of film, but I did find it quite dark. And then in 2021, I really dove into the horror genre, and yeah, I was dating someone who was non-Christian, and you only make that mistake once, and so I was very surprised how non-Christian this person was, how it was really intense. I can't really discuss all of what they did because that is their personal life and their personal choice, and I don't want to out them on a platform like YouTube. But I will say that we watched a lot of horror films, so I started watching ones like Final Destination, which I know some people on here will be like, oh, like Final Destination isn't a horror. But again, depends who you ask. But I actually loved those films. My favourite one, gosh, it's hard to pick a favourite, especially since they brought out the recent one, Bloodlines. I really love that one. But I reckon the roller coaster one is my favourite. And I also love number 5, how they tied it all in and ended up being a prequel to the first one. So I love the Final Destination films. I love the concept of like how death is coming for these people after they survive a tragedy. So yeah. And then I've watched other films that are definitely horror genre. I've watched Hostel 2. I've watched this, I'm pretty sure I watched this other one. It's not The Conjuring. I can't remember what it was called. But The Collector? No, I don't know. Anyways, so I definitely had my experience of horror films. And still dabble a little bit in it today, though I tend to just prefer to be interested in the Final Destination films. I have strayed away from films like The Exorcist and any horror films to do with demons, that evil spirits, that kind of thing. I personally stay away from them. As a Christian, I know that demons and evil spirits, it seems like mythical, but they are very real. And I don't want to, open the back door, shall we say, to that kind of thing. I don't want my mind to be exposed to evil spirits. I have heard the first Exorcist, sorry. I have heard that one is a very good film and apparently based on a true story. Don't quote me on that. My mum has watched it. She's not the kind of person to watch horror at all, but she watched it and she seemed to think it was fine. But personally, I just don't go for the any horror to do with evil spirits, and that probably just cancels out most of them. So yeah, so I'm just going to bring up a couple of verses. So in the Bible, it tells us to have an awareness and to have a discernment on what we fill our minds with. My ex-partner from 2021 as a non-Christian, they of course didn't understand this concept, and a lot of people may not understand the concept, but what you feed your mind or your heart, it can really impact you. We see people who have, I watched a video the other day about someone who was a Facebook moderator. They will get rid of or report content that isn't appropriate. And watching that video, the person who was this moderator discovered found that they were traumatized from the content that they saw, and it is very dark. And so that so what he was seeing was what eventually his mind was picking up on, and he was deeply impacted by it. So whatever we watch, whatever we open our minds and our hearts to experience, can absolutely impact us. It says in Proverbs 4:23, keep your heart with all vigilance, for from it flow the springs of life. Sorry about this. That is the ESV version. The NIV version says, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. So yeah, that's just pretty much saying the same thing. You've got to protect your heart from what you let into it. And there's another verse that is very popular in Philippians 4 verse 8. It says, finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. Now, obviously, we can't filter everything we watch, everything we think about. Everyone knows the whole intrusive thoughts. They can be very unhinged at times, and obviously we can't always control every single thought we have. As someone who has done therapy, I've been taught that we get like so many thoughts a day, in the thousands. Oh, here I am smacking the camera again with my hat. Sorry, guys. And we'd, and you can't control every single thought that comes to your head. But it also, in saying that, it also matters what you do with these thoughts. Now, you can obviously have intrusive thoughts every day, but you just let them come and let them go as they pass your mind. That's the best thing you can do with those kinds of thoughts. Just let them come and go, kind of thing. And so, it really matters what we consume as Christians, what we watch, what we let ourselves listen to. And when it comes to when it comes to horror films and stuff, everyone has their tolerance of what they can watch, and it's really important to know what you can tolerate and what you can handle watching. It's inevitable that you are going to witness or see or hear something that is too much for you, and that then can allow you to have a boundary in your life, to go, well, I'm not going to watch or listen to that kind of content because it impacts me. Now, I am considered a highly sensitive person, especially with the stuff that I've been through. It has really whacked out my emotions, so it has caused me to be more sensitive to things. And so when it comes to horror films, like I said, I can handle things like Final Destination, sort of, although I did close my eyes when it comes to the whole, aerial in the face kind of thing, is what happened in the Bloodlines thing. It was a bit gory. I do get do cringe when I see injuries to the face, especially the eyes. I don't know if you guys remember, but there was a scene in Final Destination 5 where the poor girl gets laser eye surgery and she loses her eye, and I look away from that because I'm so, man, I can't handle that. So I close my eyes. And outside of the horror genre, I have averted from watching things like Deadpool 2. I remember going to the cinema with my brother and we watched Logan, and both of us were actually quite mortified. I find that film the most violent film I've ever seen in my life. I find that it makes Final Destination look like a Disney show. And I have thus strayed away from that kind of thing. I know people will throw up a toss and be like, oh, like Deadpool is awesome. Why do you like avoid watching that? And I wouldn't say completely avoid it. I did decide to watch Wolverine versus Deadpool, and I found that one actually quite, for the most part, enjoyable. There were some scenes that were inappropriate, obviously, with it being Deadpool, but overall I found the film quite enjoyable to watch. So there we go. But I know people who will stay away from that kind of thing. They can't even watch, they'll struggle to watch films like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, as that one had animal medical experiments, and a friend of mine found it too intense for her to watch. And so yeah, that's just an example. I have another friend, great friend, really great Christian man. His faith is as rock solid as anything, and he's got an incredible relationship with God. His testimony is amazing, and he says he's witnessed evil spirits, and he's quite a tough nut. He's the kind of guy, like, he looks like he's going to beat you up, but he's just a teddy bear kind of thing. So he's actually a really good guy, but he can definitely fight for himself kind of thing. So good on him. But he can watch things like, he can watch all sorts of things. He's watched The Exorcist and things like that, and that's because, you know, he can handle it and other people can't, and that's okay. I feel like there is this maybe not so much expectation, but this you are judged, and personally it's happened to me. I've been judged for what content I specifically can't watch. I'm called sensitive. I'm called, you know, little princess, you know, all those, you know, great offensive terms, but what does it matter, you know? I know my limits, and that's okay. And you know, there shouldn't be any judgment if someone can or can't watch a horror film. What was I going to say? Sorry. With horror films, and with basically anything you watch, anything you consume, it's really important as Christians that we have discernment and wisdom into what we can watch. Like I said, it's good to set in a boundary, and to be really cautious and really aware of how what we're watching impacts us. So having watched films like The Hostel 2, I feel like that actually made me feel sick. I'm not sure if I would describe it as spiritually sick, but I definitely felt some kind of, it did feel a bit icky after watching it. There was also another film I watched a few years ago. I'm not sure I'd consider it horror, but it's called We Need to Talk About Kevin. And I watched that film back in 2021, loved it, watched it again a few years ago, can't remember how long ago, and I was like, I'm never watching this film again, because I just realized how dark it was. I mean, it's about a school massacre, and so it's really dark, but it also dives into other things, other content as well, which is pretty intense. So so I've had to grow some wisdom and discernment into what I personally can watch and can't watch, and it's important, like I said, as Christians, that we do the same thing. If you can handle watching films like The Exorcist or The Pope's Exorcist and things like that, and you find that your spirituality isn't negatively impacted, you find that you actually enjoy that kind of film, then go ahead, you know. But if you can't, then it's okay to not watch it, and don't feel forced or don't feel the pressure to watch those films if you can't watch it, you know. Like I said, everyone has their own limits on what they can and can't consume, and outside of the horror genre, this can extend to anything you watch and consume. Like for me personally, I can't stand sexual content. I will avoid it, and will try to avoid it. Sometimes I'll watch a film and go, oh gosh, I did not expect that kind of content to be in there, and I'll look away, kind of thing. Or like a sexual assault scene, I will, I hope I'm allowed to say that on YouTube, by the way. Anyways, I tend to avoid that kind of thing because I know my limits, and I know that I can't handle watching that kind of thing, and it's not good for me to watch that, not just as a Christian, but as a sensitive individual who's had certain trauma. That's where watching content like that won't necessarily help me. And it's same with violence, and cussing in music. Some people, I was talking with someone the other day, I personally, I mean, Eminem, he's okay. There are some songs that I like, but overall I tend to avoid his music as it has a lot of explicit content. I cannot speak English today. Anyway, so explicit, here we go again, content that I don't want to listen to, find it too graphic, whereas a friend of mine who's also Christian, she can listen to that kind of music and just not kind of bat an eye about it. So whereas I've listened to artists like Echo, shout out, and he'll drop the odd swearing in it, but otherwise it's fine. Honestly, for me, if it's like an emotional song, then it makes sense that they're swearing a little bit. So with everything, horror has like depths to it, you know. Like I said at the start of this video, you can get horror films that are more like thriller films. They've got that intensity, they've got that build up of tension, like the film Five Nights at Freddy's is a good example. I wouldn't say that one's necessarily it's horror, but it's not like so dark that you'd avoid it like the plague. And yeah, that one's I love that film, by the way, and I cannot wait for the sequel. Or like Megan is another great example. It's not like so violent that I personally can't watch it. I mean, that one you could probably consider it a thriller as well, but a lot of people consider it a horror. So like I said, depends who you ask. But then you've got the other side of the horror genre that are so dark that even the most non-Christian people in the world stay away from these films. And I'm talking about films like, dare I say it, The Human Centipede. That film is so dark and so gory that it is an extremely controversial film. And I reckon that as Christians, we should probably tread very, very carefully when it comes to those kinds of films. I reckon there are definitely films out there that Christians shouldn't watch. But like I said, I'm not God, and so I'm not gonna be like, my word is not the be all and end all, obviously. This is my opinion. But yeah, like films like The Human Centipede, or there's other controversial films out there that I can't think of at the moment, but I reckon that we need to be very cautious, because, you know, you can end up inviting, there is true evil in this world. It's something I'm growing to understand more and be very frightened of in some cases. Like, there is true evil in this world. People make very dark choices. I personally have maybe not made very dark choices, but I've thought of some things where I've had to take a step back and go, whoa, what the heck is wrong with my brain? Yeah, so in regards to the horror genre, I reckon that as a Christian, it's I would say, yes, it's okay to watch, but also have discernment and have wisdom, and know your boundaries and your limits to what you can watch. We are, as Christians, we are to aim to be like Jesus. Obviously, we're not perfect, but we'll get there one day when we die. So it's important that what we watch or what we consume is good for us, and it is not going to make us spiritually sick. So yeah, so that's my 2 cents on the matter. And so yeah, and here I am, and I haven't even put a dent in this picture. So let me know in the comments what you guys think. I do apologise again for my hat bonking the flippin' camera holder and my phone shaking. This time I'm sitting down for this video. Last week I posted my writing journey video. I didn't edit it out, but there is a point in that video where I had to stop and take a drink of water because I nearly passed out. So that was quite an event. I felt quite dizzy, so that was very funny, but also very unexpected. I was like, oh. So this time I'm sitting down and I've made sure to have a drink of water. So yeah, it's a very funny experience. So yeah, I'm still building my YouTube channel, and yeah, like I said, let me know in the comments what your opinion on the matter is, whether and what you think, what you can watch, and if you do like horror, let me know in the comments what your favourite horror film is. Thank you for watching this video. I would have hoped to have made more progress with this picture, but we've started it, and I will be posting a reel later on the full finished version about what it looks like. like I said, I'm just doing alcohol base and then topping it up, putting another layer of Prismacolor pencils just to make that fluffy appearance stand out. So yeah, and I will be posting another video at the end of this week. Actually, I'll be posting another video tomorrow, which is really cool. Finally getting some ideas for my YouTube video. So yeah, I hope you guys have a great day, and yeah, thank you for tuning in into Grace Creates. Peace.